네, 안녕하세요. 저는 유조고요. 지금 T.T.E와 함께 방송 시작할게요. Hey, what's up?
안녕하세요. Hi, Yuzo. How are you?
I'm good. I'm good. And then I saw you last week, probably. No, a week before, right?
Yeah, week before. Yeah,
And
yeah.
then it's always nice to see Tom,
Yeah, you too.
especially not in.
Yeah, it's not
Yeah.
any excuse for me to get out of Itaewon really, because I live in Usadam-ro as well, right? So I end up just walking up and down Itaewon High Street. So it's amazing to come here, and like the space is incredible.
Like, don't get me wrong, I love Itaewon, but then also because my studio is not in it's not in Yongsan-gu. And then this area is pretty nice. I don't know, like if you ever been.
Yeah,
this area.
no, I haven't. So honestly, anytime I get an excuse, I just get so lazy. I find like sometimes I'll see my friends' Instagram stories and they'll be like doing all these like activities and seeing everything, and I'm like, wow, I need to get out more. So I've actually got some friends coming in May from the UK, like 6 of them. So that's like good pressure for me to go and do some more exploring and actually see more of the city, because yeah, you can really get into a bit of a cycle of just sort of chilling Monday to Wednesday. You're sort of working in Itaewon, DJing in Itaewon. So yeah, I'm really, really happy to be here. It's an amazing space.
If people have to understand the dynamics of the relationship we have. So I have a funny first. I don't know if you still remember it, but then you remember the first time I saw you?
Yeah, I remember the first time I saw you.
Yeah, at the time I was seeing someone, and then there's this one guy, like very tall guy with the football jersey, came up to me, and then he tried to talk to me, and I was like, oh, I was like immediately like, oh, like what's that? Like I thought that was some kind of typical kind of approach, like
British lad, yeah.
Yeah, but then like my ex-girlfriend, she was like, I think he's gay or queer, and I was like, no, he's not. He's wearing a football jersey, and I was like, I was obviously wrong. And then honestly, I have like zero gaydar in people. I'm trying not to like guess people's sexuality. I think it's kind of like,
I mean, I feel like I guess people would say I can be quite sort of what they call like straight passing. But I feel like that's until I open my mouth, and then everyone's like, oh, he's really gay.
But
my first memory of you is actually the first time I ever went to Cake Shop.
Oh, right.
And it was Shade.
Right.
And I put
I did a killer set,
video.
though.
I remember, and it was the first time I've been to Cake Shop, and Yuzo played an edit of Destiny's Child, and I was like, oh my God. And I got my phone out, took a video, put it up, and then that was maybe about 2 or 3 months before we met. And then I think your ex actually commented.
Right.
Because I was like, I'd put like, oh, it's Cake Shop and this is amazing. There was this amazing DJ who played. And then, now look at us.
Ever
it's
since
funny.
then, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, and then couple of months later, Tom started to working in SCR, which is even more amazing. So I get to see him regularly.
Yeah.
Yeah. So every time I go like SCR, he's there, always like welcoming. So yeah, that's kind of how we met actually, right?
Yeah. No, my whole experience of career is kind of crazy because sort of long to cut it down a little bit. Like, I lost my job in the UK during COVID and couldn't find another job, and my rent was running out, so I was supposed to move in with my mum. And 7 days before I was supposed to move in with my mum, I was with my housemate, and I was like, I've got to get out of the UK. Like I can't move back in with my mum. I love my mum, but just can't do it. And so I watched a documentary about Korea and how they managed COVID, and that there weren't any restrictions or lockdowns.
At the time?
Yeah, at the time there was nothing, because I came July 2020. So I rung my mum and I said, I'm not coming home. I'm going to go to Korea for 2 months. I'll be back in September.
So you thought it was going to be a temporary thing, right?
Yeah. There was a part of me that was like, maybe if I like it here, I could come and do teaching, but I just wanted a break. And I had these savings and all my money was going on just surviving, literally being locked in my house in London. So I, booked a plane. And 2.5 years later, I'm still here. Yeah. I started going to SCR just on my own, met all the family, met all the community.
And then you started working there.
And then 4 or 5 months after working there, I taught myself to DJ. So I'd never worked in music before. I'd never DJ'd before I came to Korea. So yeah, it's crazy now. You know, SCR and this city literally changed my life.
Right.
You know, I had a very boring corporate job.
In the
I
UK.
I used to work in beer distribution, so I used to manage wholesale networks.
Sounds super straight.
It was so straight. My job was dealing with a lot of sort of old middle-aged men, going to their warehouses, having meetings. So yeah, getting to do this and being here is I don't waste a single second of it. And I think that's why maybe I've done a lot in a short space of time, but I was 27 when I moved here. I'm 30 now. So I don't want to waste a second
time
of it.
passed.
Yeah, right? It's
really, I actually haven't really thought about how much time has passed ever since like you first like touched down to Korea and then like you still live here, right?
Yeah.
Wow, that's already like been more than 2 years, right?
Yeah, it'll be coming up to 3 years in July.
Are you gonna celebrate your 3 years something?
Probably, yeah. It's but I still, it's so funny because I still have these moments where I'll be doing something really mundane, like, I don't know, walking out of a shop. Like I'll be in Daiso and I'll walk out of Daiso and just have like a weird out of body moment where I go, oh my God, I live in Korea. Like it's still, because there was no plan, right? It's not like I went, right, pack up my life in the UK and come here. So I still have those moments because it's still crazy. And, you know, even now, it's only really as of this year, I've sort of officially moved everything out of the UK. I've sold my apartment. I've moved everything here. So this whole year is really exciting for me because I feel like I had a year and a half of trying to get visas. I had a year of sort of starting my DJ career, starting parties, sort of having a year without COVID in Seoul and, you know, doing all the exciting stuff with like Hajj Days and Hajj Days Festival with SCR and DMZ Festival and sort of really understanding fully what SCR does. So yeah, going into this year, I'm really, really like excited because I feel like I'm sort of finally settled here.
You feel like?
Yeah. And I'll talk to my friends at home and they'll be like, oh, you know, are you going to come back? When will you come back? And I think the DJ scene and the music scene, the underground scene here is so unique and special. And, you know, it has its good points and its bad points. But I do think I look at the UK scene, particularly when I went back nearly like 2 years ago now. And I couldn't do what I do here in the UK. It's very event-based. Like in Thailand, I met my friend who runs a big disco house party. She does it in one of the biggest venues in London, Printworks, in Manchester, in Bristol. And it's got even worse now because of the like economic and the like cost of living situation in the UK. So she's now having to put out the lineups for her event 6 months in advance. 6 months in advance because people are being so much more selective around what they do and what they do. So it's got more competitive. So people are now, where here it's, you know, I said to her, yeah, you know, if you have a night here, the earliest you start promoting is like 2 weeks before, right? Even with certain festivals and larger events.
The timing is very different, right?
Yeah, because
here, I feel like here is more casual, but also very independent. I feel like what I felt like what's lacking in Korea when it comes to underground music scene is like the system wise, like the label, the agency. I don't think we still have like a proper. We have, but then it's like you can really like count in your fingers, like with your fingers, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And I think there's a level of sort of like, I think as DJs, once you get to that certain level, getting that next step up is like harder because you don't have that. However, I do think places like the UK is almost seeing the negative side of that, because if you look at the festival, like here, what I love is festivals like, obviously we have like the big corporate American festivals, but you look at things like Air House or, you know, it's a lot of home lineups and actually people it's a lot harder in Europe, not all of Europe, but definitely in the UK, to have those kind of like festival opportunities or have those next steps up, because it's so much about the headliners. It's so much about your big names. It's so much about a lineup full of names that people know, rather than giving people those opportunities.
I see.
You know, those like home DJs who are working. So it's like good. Yeah, I feel like there's a level of it, but we have to be careful that it doesn't become. I feel like the UK's almost become too corporate. You know, it's almost like if you look at what's happened with K-pop, it's very hard to break through independently, right? Because it's so managed by all of the big labels and all of that. And you could kind of feel like that could happen here if we suddenly started bringing in agents.
Yeah.
And yeah, from an SCR point of view, it's much better working with, it's much more interesting working with people face to face and being able to deal with people rather than.
Yeah.
But yeah, we're still a young scene. And that's what's exciting, I think. It's such a young, exciting scene. There's so many new people. You know, I guess I came from the sort of, there's some of us, like there's a few of us DJs who almost feel like the COVID graduates, right? Like we sort of like started in
I think we
DJing in
started to
COVID.
pay more attention to local lineups, right?
Yeah.
Before, I honestly, because like the atmosphere before was like, oh, who's gonna be the headliner coming to Korea all the way, to Korea, and then I think clubs and then like event promoter put a lot of like investment and money on that, but then like COVID, like they couldn't do it, right? So they're like, okay, like what else we can do? Let's do something like anything regular night. I mean, at some point it wasn't even possible. Like some period of time, it wasn't even that possible, but still, I think this kind of like the change of perspective really kind of I also really felt like the insights coming from the local lineups and then they know about the scene like a lot.
Yeah.
So I think people also need to kind of like appreciate it, this part. Yeah, it's just like why you're based in somewhere and then like you've been doing this for so long and then that should be like valued.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. Yeah, I think COVID showed that you could still fill up clubs with local DJs without needing the pull of, you know, I think you do need to have it to add a bit of interest and like mix things up a bit. But yeah, also the quality here, I think particularly now I've seen people coming, whether they're here because of a gig or they've come on holiday and they DJ in another country. You know, I try my best if they come to SCR to try and like take them out, show them Itaewon, do things like that. And I really noticed that they really see the quality. Like I actually think that the DJ quality in terms of people's level here is very high. In terms of mixing, in terms of selection, in terms of like an example.
Have you ever seen any bad DJs, any bad Korean DJs?
Yeah, well, yeah.
Or local DJs even.
I think yeah, there's a certain standard, right? I really feel like I guess people could argue whether it's like a healthy press. There's a level of, I think just like Korean culture in general is very like, everyone's like very hardworking and it's a very like natural.
We're perfectionists.
Yeah, absolutely, right? And I think I really noticed it. I took there's a crew called Daytimers, which is like a South Asian collective in the UK. One of their DJs came over, did a mix at SCR, and then we went to Times and we saw Austin and a few others. And she like halfway through Austin's set, I remember her turning to me and just being like, wow, I'm doing a lot of work on the plane home. Like I know I need to like work on this or do this, just like watching.
Really?
I think that it's the advantage of having to play a lot. We were talking just before about, I feel like I've been very lucky that I now sort of play quite regularly at Kokiri in Itaewon, which is I like the name of it. They sort of call it a straight friendly gay bar, right? But it's sort of a queer space for everyone, you know. It's not like some of the other places where it's like men only. But having somewhere to play regularly really helps and pushes you in terms of, because you don't feel like you can go and play the same thing every time, whether it's like creating new music or experimenting with bringing in different tracks and things like that. It really pushes you. And I think the opportunity here for people to play regularly, also in lots of different spaces, whether it's bars and clubs, I think that also has really helps the level of DJing, because you have that advantage of playing maybe once every 2 weeks or once a month. Because there's also so many DJs. There's a lot of DJs in this
There's a lot of
scene.
DJs, yeah.
There's a lot.
Yeah.
So it's a mix of lots of pressures, but I feel like it's good pressure rather than it being. I don't feel a sort of there's not a negative competitiveness. I feel like everyone is fairly supportive, and even in different genres of music, I feel like people are still quite supportive. It's not like you have just the Apogee crowd here or just this. I feel like there is an actual, on a wider level, there is a big DJ community here, and everyone is fairly supportive of everyone.
Well, you talked about Kokiri and then like the queer club. So, like, I mean, since we're both queer, and then like, I mean, that's kind of how we also talked a lot of the time about being queer, and then like what's happening in the queer community here.
Yeah.
And I would say my approach is always a little bit different because I'm female, so I potentially focus more on that part.
Yeah.
Then you're also, I think you're more, actually sometimes I feel like you're more inclusive than me doing things here.
Right.
I never felt like I'm serving to a certain community. I never felt like that. I'm just like, I really want people, like especially female queer people, to be more exposed to the scene.
Right. Yeah.
So I'm trying to kind of like, if I can have chances like to work with them or like play with them, I'm trying to do that. But I'm not gonna say that, oh, I'm helping them out.
Right. Okay.
I think it's kind of also too like arrogant for me to say like how you're gonna help someone out for that. I'm just like giving them like, I just want to like play with them and then like do something with them, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So okay, my question was, so when it comes to queer scene or queer music scene here, what do you think? What are your thoughts like when you first came here and then now after 2 years?
So I think when I first came here, it's very different, right? So how I describe sort of Korea to people back home, just being queer or being a gay man here in general, is that it's obviously there is a lot more resistance. You know, we have gay marriage in the UK. It's generally something that, you know, I see politicians talk about LGBTQ stuff here. If politicians now in the UK spoke how people spoke here, there would be a level of them being cancelled, right? It's now LGBTQ people are very accepted in society. Whether that's going to always be there, it's not perfect, but it's actually a lot. Even though it's not LGBTQ, people are not always as accepted here. It is a lot safer. So my thing would be like, if I was on a date with someone here, if I wanted to like kiss them in the street, I would feel less comfortable doing it here, but a lot safer. Like I will feel the uncomfortableness, or I will be aware that it will be a shocking thing for me to do in front of day-to-day Koreans, but no one's going to say anything and it's not going to get physical. Where in the UK, I wouldn't think twice about it, but from personal experience, I've had 2 homophobic attacks in my life. One where I was fully beaten up and knocked unconscious, right? So it's a very like weird thing. And I think then also in some ways you then want to look at it from a more like Western view and be like, oh, well, it needs to be more accepting, or, you know, why are the spaces still men only, right? That's kind of maybe a sort of more naive view when I first came here. However, I think sometimes it's very easy to think of things. There was an interview actually that I watched with someone and they made this point, which I really agree with, is I think it's very easy to always look at things from a Western point of view and very much look at the West and be the right way. But, you know, this country has evolved so quickly. That doesn't necessarily mean the social side of it is going to evolve quickly. And actually, we're still in a situation where the vast majority of people aren't out to their families and also aren't out in work. So on paper, it might be a frustrating thing for me coming from a Western country going, oh, well, why can't everyone get in? Why can't my female friends come in with me? But actually, these safe spaces are much more important because some of these people have 48 hours a week where they get to switch off from their lives and be themselves. So in my 2 years being here, I have become much more open and understand. I still feel like we need to embrace and have more spaces. If those spaces still need to be men only, or those lesbian spaces need to be female only, how do we create spaces that do offer something for everyone? And I, particularly what Shade does and what I try and do with Why Always Mint is try and give those as options, even though I think before we get to a place in Korea where those spaces are more open to more people, it's a bigger issue with getting an anti-discrimination law put through, making more people in Korea aware so that people feel more comfortable to have other people in those spaces.
So like for 2 years you felt like the difference was between Korea and then like you being in the UK being queer was like you felt a lot safer, right?
Yeah, I wouldn't think about it. I wouldn't think I was unsafe, but if there's maybe a 5% of the population who, if they do have an issue with it, like will get physical. Like I came out at 16. I came out in high school. And had like no issues. I never got bullied at school. That's why when I experienced a homophobic attack, I didn't realize it was a homophobic attack at first because I'd never experienced that kind of hatred from
You didn't process
anyone. Yeah, I
at
didn't
the
process
time.
what it was because I've never experienced that in my life. But I know I wouldn't. I'd be very surprised if that ever happened here. I'm not saying it wouldn't, but like culturally, there's not that aggression there. So I don't think I would. I feel a lot safer here, but I don't feel as comfortable as a gay person here, if that makes sense.
So when it comes to just like minding their own business, it's just Koreans are like really like they don't give a fuck.
Yeah, I think people will say people might say something, but I don't. If you look at Pride, Pride was very intense. My first Pride in Seoul this year, very intense. Right, it felt like a protest, and it was something that I've never experienced
gay
doing
life
a
is
Pride.
protest.
Yeah, right. But I think in the UK and some other Western countries, we're almost too comfortable. Our issues in Western, a lot of the issues around Pride in a lot of the conversations that happen in the UK is actually that brands want to sponsor Pride now. So you get a lot of the big brands, big corporate companies, they'll put a rainbow flag, they'll have a float at Pride. But is it just performative? So for June, they changed their Twitter handle to a Pride logo and that's it.
Yeah.
Trying to do that in Korea is like the other end of that. There's still brands that don't want to be associated with it, even if they are an international brand and are happy to do it in the UK, or they'll do it a lot more subtly. So yeah, and it does still feel like a protest, but it felt intense, but it never felt violent. So you've got all the people around the square, they're all shouting, they're all doing, but it doesn't feel like it's, I never felt like at any point anyone was going to like run in and try and, hit anyone or try and trash it. They'll just try and drown it out with noise, which is, very different. And I also just feel like in Korea, there's just it's an awareness thing as well. I mean, we laughed in the summer. There's a beach club in Yangyang called Rainbow Beach, which literally has through the middle of the beach bar a rainbow-colored runway, which is literally the gayest thing you could possibly have.
But that's also Western term,
Yeah. But it's the rainbow.
A lot of the Koreans still don't know what the rainbow means.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I could walk down the street in a full rainbow outfit and people wouldn't. People's first assumption wouldn't be that it's gay. But it was just so funny because it was not only was it called Rainbow Beach, had rainbows everywhere, but literally had a rainbow catwalk through the middle of them. It's literally like this. So you go from the bars at the back here, and then it's just a full like runway down to the DJ booth, and it's just all rainbow colored. But no one would have any idea. So I feel like I've definitely taken the time to listen and learn, and I feel like anything that I do here when it comes to LGBTQ stuff, I also want to make sure that I'm listening and involving other people, particularly with I like my monthly my yearly event with SCR, Rave As You Are, which was very important for me to do because, again, I feel very lucky that I've moved to Korea and been a part of Korean life that is very open to LGBTQ people and is very open. And I've never, if I had become a teacher here, which a lot of Western people end up doing, I might have had to go into work and
You may have
think about myself.
Sure, yeah.
Think about myself.
Yeah.
And I've never once had to feel like at any point living here that go in the closet or do anything. So Rave As You Are was like a big thing for me to kind of showcase the underground scene in Seoul as being almost like this example of like an accepting culture to trans people, lesbian people, everyone. But I also know that I also understand that of who I am, that I needed to make sure that I include as many different people from the scene as possible because I'm still new here. I have certain privileges coming from a Western country and my upbringing. And I think it's really important that, with what I do or how we do everything in the scene, that if we are doing these things, it's how we bring everyone else up, or we welcome new people in, or we show people. And that's why, last year it was amazing because we had, you involved with the studio and bringing in Shade, and we had the like drag performers from HBC and Kokiri, and it was almost... It became almost like this map.
Parts of the the beautiful queer community, right? Oh.
And showing people because I think we're all so busy, right? And as we were sort of talking about with DJing, it's very intense. We're all working, and sometimes it's just, I had people come to a lot of queer people come to SCR who'd never been to SCR before, or people go to Kokiri who hadn't been there before, or it almost became like a map, right? But it's much more about showing off like other people, and I want to make sure that anything that I'm doing, that it's that I'm constantly trying to like learn from other people and understand other people and understand the culture and how I can help. But also it's much more about showcasing like other people rather than like myself, or how we can like improve the Korean scene overall.
I think I have the same thoughts because I also sometimes feel like it's good that I exist as a female queer and then I do something, right?
Yeah.
Individually. But then also I started to focus more on the part that, if people like me also...
My leg just went dead.
Yeah, I was gonna
my
be
leg just gone.
I thought that was gonna be too hard for you in the end. But anyway, I like working with people. This is something I realized about myself. I like just like doing things on my own, but then when it comes to my internal like intuition, maybe that will help me with like making tracks. But then when it comes to doing stuff, I definitely need people.
Yeah.
I feel like it's not that I'm not confident in myself. It's more like I get so much energy from people
Absolutely,
that I really want to work with, and then like the more the better. I think the outcome is always even more beautiful.
Yeah, and I think SCR really taught me about that. I think what I love so much about working at SCR and getting to work with Rich, Suki and Bolka and just everything that they do, it's so like there's a part of it that's obviously very like SCR, and we want to grow that brand, and we want, the dream of SCR being that like, everyone in the street knows about it, right? That everyone in Korea ends up being aware of it, or people in Seoul, But it's very unselfish in the way that it's literally the name, the community. It's about giving the community and people in the scene and DJs, producers, whoever, opportunities. It's not about, us personally. It's about giving everyone else these amazing opportunities and being able to do that and showcase the scene in that way, whether it's with the brand partnerships that we do or the festivals. It's really about, like I remember we did a project with Nike last year, right? And they had an event for Nike Air Day, like Air Max Day, and they did a pop-up event, and we were asked to like book the DJs, and we gave it to a lot of the the sort of like the newer DJs in the scene, or not, you know, it wasn't about booking the more well-known. And I just remember seeing everyone's Instagram stories of like how excited they were about getting their trainers and, you know, getting the little note or getting to go to that event. Like that is the most rewarding bit of like the SER, is like giving those people like those opportunities and having that, and, you know, being able to give people experiences and uplift the scene in a way that maybe that, you know, it wouldn't have been able to, you know, they might not have had those opportunities before, but because they've come and done cool shows at the studio or they've supported us, that we can then like give that back. And I really have learned so much from those three in terms of how then doing stuff for myself, how I go into events I do or projects I'm working on or anything, because I just, the way that they work and the attitudes, I just feel so lucky that I get to be a part of it and have learned so much from all three of them.
Nice.
And SCR open Thursday to Sunday every week. So if you've never been, come check us out.
Yeah. SCR, like Thursday to every Thursday
Every
to Sunday,
Thursday to
right?
Sunday, yeah.
Okay, so I'll guess we can wrap things up for now.
Yeah,
And,
thank you, Yuzo. This was fun.
yeah. Can you say goodbye to the crowd? 안녕.
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 We are bulletproof. Yes, sir. We are bulletproof. Yes, sir. We are bulletproof. Yes, sir. We are bulletproof. We are bulletproof. Yes, sir. We are bulletproof. We are bulletproof. Yes, sir. Bulletproof.
satisfaction, and I don't need no protection. I need double penetration for my double satisfaction, and I don't need no protection. I need double penetration for my double satisfaction, and I don't need no protection. I need double penetration for my double satisfaction, and I don't need no protection. I need double penetration for my double satisfaction, and I don't need no protection.
Only 5 buckets up.
I'm a freak, freaky freak, every day of the week. So to get me some orgasm, I need thick and double dick, double D, in my pretty little P. Doggy style, made me bruise my right knee. I am not asking for much, I just got tired of your touch. My hole is too big, it's not for you to dig. Tonight I want that extra punch. I need double penetration for my double satisfaction. I need double penetration for my double satisfaction, and I don't need no protection. I need double penetration for my double satisfaction. I need double penetration for my double satisfaction, and I don't need no protection. You can use a dildo or just call one of your friends. You can call the one I fucked in his Mercedes-Benz. We can dance to the sound of my pussy in a trance. When it gets torn apart by some dildos bought in France. I am not asking for much, I just got tired of your touch. My hole is too big, it's not for you to dig. Tonight I want that extra punch. I need double penetration for my double satisfaction. I need double penetration for my double satisfaction, and I don't need no protection. I need double penetration for my double satisfaction. I need double penetration for my double satisfaction, and I don't need no protection.
Everybody in the club go to work. Keep your hands in the sky.